Hi there, welcome back to my video. It's still Joseph Asuko, and this is still Golang for beginners, right? Please, if you haven't, please subscribe, follow the video, like, comments. This really gives me um, a sense of community, and then I know what topic I need to treat later on. So, like, if you followed my previous video, which is in this playlist, we started with blockchain. And so the recap of what we did last in our last video, we spoke about blockchain, basically what is blockchain, the concept of blockchain, so you can check that out. And we also practicalize connecting Golang to Ethereum. So we are practicalizing with Ethereum blockchain. We read wallet balances, and then we also retrieve the latest block, right? So for this video, we want to continue because it's a series, right? We have done the introduction to blockchain. Now we're going to start nose diving into important concepts that you might need as a beginner, right? And concepts like blocks and transactions and things like that, right? So the question is, what is a transaction, right? What is a transaction? So right here, it says a transaction is an instruction sent to a blockchain, right? So whenever you send an instruction to a blockchain, for example, you're like, yeah, you want to send someone money. Yeah, for example, you want to send me an Ethereum. That is an instruction saying going to the blockchain that says um John sends Joseph ETH, or send ETH from John to Joseph, something like that, right? It's just an instruction. Or even when you want to deploy a smart contract, it's still an instruction that goes into the blockchain that says deploy this smart contract, right? Or call a smart contract function. All these things are instructions that are sent to the blockchain, and these instructions cannot be changed. In fact, they are not changed, right? It's there. So that's why they said you can't, whatever goes into the blockchain cannot be changed, right? So the instructions are sent to the blockchain. So you can think about, so in essence, you can think about it like this. You can think about it like a bank transfer request. Alice sends one ETH to Bob, basically, and that's an instruction, and it goes to the blockchain, right? Now, the next question is, what does a transaction contain, basically, right? Every transaction has important information, right? They contain important things. For example, right, in a transaction, you would see a transaction hash. You see the from the person the transaction is coming from, and then you see the to, that's sender, from is sender, to is receiver, right? And then you see the value. For example, if we're using this, Alice sends one ETH to Bob, right? Probably see from Alice to Bob, the value is one ETH. There's also gas price, which we are going to come into that concept probably in the next video, and then there's also a nonce. Again, we'll come into that concept probably in the next video, because we are trying to go from beginner friendly up, right? It's a playlist. You can watch it again and again and again, right? So now, like I said, what we're going to focus on primarily would be transaction hash, sender, receiver, amount, and gas. So these are the things we're going to be treating as we go on. Maybe we might also treat nonce, right? Who knows? We'll get there, right? So now, in a transaction, you might get a question like, what are the components of a transaction? Like, now, top of your head, transaction must come with a transaction hash, like a unique identifier for that transaction, and then the sender, the receiver, which is from and to, the value of the transaction, the amount you're sending, and then the amount it costs to send that transaction. That's basically a gas price, and then a nonce, also a unique identifier of sorts, right? Yeah, we're going to get into it, right? So now the question is, what is a block? I know you keep hearing things like blockchain, blockchain. So the question is, what is a block, right? So now, a block is a container. Basically, it's just a container that helps you to store multiple transactions, right? You get to store different transactions. So, like I said, you can have these multiple transactions. You can have Alice sends one ETH to Bob. Bob withdraws one ETH. Bob Alice sends 50 ETH to John. You can have those different transactions coming in, and then so those different transactions together forms a block, right? So like now, for example, we are trying, let's open up, if we are opening up a block 100, for an example, you might see transaction 1, transaction 2. So these are just the instructions of the first transaction, second transaction, third, fourth, fifth. And then when that is done, it gets we have another block coming in with different transactions that keeps coming in, right? So instead of storing the transactions one by one, right, in the blockchain, these transactions are grouped. Many transactions are grouped together into a block, which gives us the concept of a blockchain. Like I said, these transactions cannot be changed. Once it has been sent and it has been verified or approved by, or confirmed, I think by confirmed by the people, by the number of confirmation that is needed, maybe 6 confirmation, it cannot be changed, and that's it, right? So now, today's goal, right, will probably be to, using Golang, we'll be able to fetch a transaction, right? Read a transaction, print transaction details, like I said, we're going to print transaction hash, we're going to print the from, we're going to print the to, you're going to print the value and the gas price of these transactions. So this is what we are going to do in today's class. But before that, let me just show you before we go into code. If you go to explorer.bitquery.io, Ethereum, right? If you need the site, you can just copy it here. You get this is a mainnet, right? You get to view all the blocks. For example, this is block the same way we had a block 100. So you have a block 25403275. The next, so that's probably the latest block right now. Like by this time, yeah, by 2:22:59 seconds today, that is the latest block, right? Last time I did it. So now you can see that different blocks, right? And we have a miner block, the person that mined the block, right? That's on the address that mined the block. But that's not the concept of treating, where we'll get to miners and all those concepts later. You need to understand the block. So this is a block. These are different blocks. So now if you go into this block, right, you get to see the different transactions in this block, right? So this is the block. You can see the number of block, the block number, this the miner, right? This is the reward for mining the block and stuff like that, which we'll probably get into this, right? But what we are interested in right now is the transactions. Like I said, a block is a collection of transactions. So you have multiple transactions that forms one block, and that makes up the blockchain. So now you can see this. You can see this transaction. You can see multiple transactions. This transaction 1, 2, 3, 4, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now in this transaction, you can see the sender, you can see the recipient, receiver. You can see the value right there. This one is just $0. You can see the value that is being sent. You can see the cost. You can see the gas. You can see the fee. you can see, so you can see different things. You can, yeah, now this is the hash and this is the status. This means done. You can see the hash. So these are things you um this is just the way a blockchain is. A block holds multiple transactions in a block, and then it forms a chain, block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, block 5, and you can't go back to alter those blocks, right? So we can see these transactions here, transaction here, transaction here. So yeah, that being said, for this, let us see how we can experience this using Golang. Like I said, if you followed my last video on blockchain, because it's a series, the first video we did how we connected to RPC. You should know what RPC is by now. If you don't know, please refer to my last video, and I did teach how to get your RPC URL. This is mine, so you can go get that. And then the last video we did block number. We got the latest block number, which I just explained to you, which is something you just saw here. The latest block number was, for now, is this is mainnet, right? Is 205. Let me even refresh this. If I refresh this, continue, let's see if we're gonna have a different one. I think yeah, you can see now is 447, right? 447. So yeah, and the transaction, the number of transactions inside this is the 311 count of transaction that is inside this, while the previous block was, what was the previous block? The previous block was let's see, exactly 375. So it keeps, different transactions keep making up different blocks as it goes, keeps as you are using the blockchain, it keeps adding and expanding, right? So now we covered that in the last video, and then we even try to get my wallets, this my Ethereum wallet accounts balance. So we did get that, and I explained the concept of way and ETH for you, right? I did explain that concept. Please, just to have a quick recap, you can go back to that previous video and go through it, right? But for today, we are going to be focusing on transactions and block, right? So let me just uncomment this out. So I'm gonna have uncommented this out, right? So we are getting blocks by number here, right? So this is it, block by number, which is basically the same thing here. We are getting the last, this is basically getting the latest number of block, right? Which is basically the same thing here. So you get the block by number, and then when you get the latest block by number, then you're trying to get the transactions of that block, right? So it's basically the same thing here. So what will I do? Let's just take out, let's just comment out all this that is not relevant to what we are doing. Just comment it out, all the things we did last time, and just focus on what we need here, right? So block by number, yeah, we do need this. Sorry, we do need this. So we don't need to print this, or do we? We don't really need to print. So yeah, we are getting the block number here. So we get the client calls the block number, and here we are getting the block by number. So we pass the block number here so that we can get the latest block, and then we are going to get the transactions of the latest block, right? We'll get the transactions of the latest block, which this is the transaction. So let me do a log here so that we can log these transactions. Log.println transactions, right? Call transactions, yeah. So this is the so we'll probably print out, well, I think this might be too much, right? But let's start with this. We're gonna print out all the let's see if we can print out all the transactions, right? But I think it's a bit much, but let's see where we go with this. So all we want to do, so right now we're going to see connect successfully, which that is what we got there. It's gonna call the block. See, exactly, this is all what we get. This is pointing to the what do you call it, this is a pointer to those transactions, to those transaction block, right? So now let's clear this. You can't really tell this. Let's clear this. You don't understand what's happening here, but let's clear this, and now let's do this. Let's take this out. Let's range it. Let's range instead. Let's do for I'm sure you know how to range. This is something, these are topics I've covered in my fundamental Golang classes, right? Golang videos, please, you can check it out. So let's do a transaction TRX, and we are ranging. So we're going to range transactions, and then so we have access. So for in this transaction we have access to everything. There's we probably have access to the gas thing, the hash. We have access to the nonce if you want to, the to the. So now let's just print whatever we have access to, right? I think with this we can just do log dot print line. So let me do this, transactions dot sender, is it like that too, right? Dot so let's see what that gives us. String. So this is probably gonna give you the address of the sender in this format. So if you check here, yeah, hold on, yeah, verify you're human. No, it's a blockchain, you can't be too careful. So if you check these transactions, you're gonna see the sender something like this, recipient something like this. So it's gonna give you their the addresses, right? So that's basically what we're gonna do here. Then we're gonna do, let's just do, and then thing we have, is it from, what again do we have here? So this is encoded gas blah 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 hash protected by value to transaction. I do need the, so what do we have here? So we have the gas here. Let's deal with value. Let's start with value, and then this is value receiver, yeah, so what do we have again? So we can literally play around with this. We can literally play around with this. So yeah, what are we looking for? So let's do the gas, right? The gas that was spent on that transaction, is it the, so we do have gas, hold on, yes. So let's run this and see what we come up with. Yeah, so gas clear, and then we run this. So you can see the receiver, you can see the value. Sorry, so this is meant to be gas. This is meant to be gas. So now let me do this. Let me even log print line index, and then let's do ID. Let's keep track of this ID. Then let's also log the hash. And let's also log the gas itself, because let's compare the difference between what is the difference between the gas and the gas price, right? Let's see the difference between the gas and the gas price. Let's make this gas price. Let's make this gas. How do we get the sender? This is to, I'm sure there should be a from somewhere. This sender, what do we have here? Gas, data, the gas block, so we can encode APL, tip, Marshall nonce, and Marshall without. So anyways, yeah, the signer, yeah, this with signature, so the signer is probably the sender, but anyways, we'll get to that later. So now let's focus on this and see what we do with this. We clear this and then we run this. So like I said before, it connected, and then we have this. So let's see the transaction. Okay, no what? Let's also keep track of the block number, so that we can go back to our explorer and explore if we can get the transactions of that block, and then we can compare what we have, right? So again, transaction index. So again, clear this and let's run. So we'll keep track of the latest block. So now let's go up. The latest block is this. So this Aprilia network. Let's see if we can have a Aprilia network here. Mainnet. Can we do the blockchain? Is there a Aprilia network here? Tron, mainnet, Tron, smart contracts. Let's see this. Unfortunately, okay, yeah, we should. Can we change this? Unfortunately, this is just for mainnet, right? You know what? I think we can actually call this on a mainnet. Since we're not really doing anything, let's get our mainnet URL. Let's get our mainnet URL, and then let's call this using our mainnet, shall we? Let's go to Alchemy, get our mainnet URL, sign in. We have been through this before, so go to my project, my app, get my mainnet URL, my endpoints, ETH mainnet. Yeah, this is it. So I can just get this URL. That's my mainnet RPC URL. So just replace this and let's call it. So now we can. So what we are going to do, we're just trying. I just want us to visualize calling it on the code base and also going to the Explorer to check the mainnet, right? So yeah, it is. And then, like I said, we connected. What is the issue here? Yeah, this is invalid memory. That's fine. That's fine. It's not a problem. Invalid memory address on new pointer the reference is fine. So now what we are looking for is okay. This is the block we are looking at. So this is the mainnet, the latest block that we got, 25402511. Let's see if we can get that latest block, 2540 2511. I mean, This is still 2540 2504, so we need 2511. Yeah, this was when we made that call. This was our latest block, right? When we made the call at the time, this was our latest block, 2540 2511. So if we go inside there, if we go inside that latest block, we check the transactions. So now at the index 0, let's see our transaction at index 0. This index 0, our transaction was receiver something xbd. This is it. Can you see the receiver? Xbd. That's a receiver there. xbd3ba, xbd3ba 9ffe 9ffe. So you can see that we are getting real data from the real mainnet. And then you can also check the value of this 0.0025. So that's what you're getting it. This is, you know, the conversion we discussed in our previous video, the way and the ETH conversion. So you can check that out. The price, the gas price, and then the gas. So this is the gas price we are getting here. Was it? Yeah, this is probably the value of the gas price here. And then this is the hash, the transaction hash, which is the transaction hash, right? So yeah, this, I hope you learned about blockchain. I hope you learned more about blockchain, and then I hope you followed how we were able to connect into the blockchain and get this data out of the blockchain, the sender, the value, the gas price, and the hash and things like that. Please, I would love you to, you know, send me comments, review, like, subscribe, share. This goes a long way to motivating me to come up with more beginners friendly topic, and then do justice to it. Thank you very much.